Hello and welcome to our online service from the Eldwick Church, and a particular welcome if it's your first time today of joining us. Our theme today is about deliver us from evil. We're going to start off this time by hearing a song, My Lighthouse. It's going to be sung to us by Olivia, who's Jenny Revell's daughter, a member of our church.
In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. You won't let go. In my questions, your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. But before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Far before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Far before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Far before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore.
I'm here in the Eldwick Church, and I'm actually inside the Neville Room, named after this man, Neville Richardson. And apart from many other things that he did, he was also an active member of the anti-apartheid movement, a movement that was there to support people, very much like Black Lives Matter today. It's been an issue that's been with us for many years. This week we've been privileged to interview Neville's wife, Carleen, still an active member of our church, and find out about what it was like for her when she was working and living in South Africa. Hello, I'm here with Carleen Richardson, and I've come to ask her what it was like to be a teacher out in South Africa where Carleen used to live. So, Carleen.
Hello, I'm going to tell you about the school that I started and ran in South Africa. The school was named Dumisa, which means God be praised. It was for black children who normally would have had to go to black schools under apartheid, where there'd be 80 in a classroom, and their parents wanted them to be able to speak and study in English. So I started the school. We never had our own property. We rented, and it always had to be a safe place because there was trouble in those areas between two political parties. The first 2 years we spent in a children's home, rather cramped in a garage, but it served us well. And while we were there was big unrest in the township, and we had to evacuate. And the people carrier people who used to bring children to our school helped us to take all the children, and including me, escort me in my car to the safe area of Port Elizabeth. After that we moved into church buildings where we were housed for the rest of our time, 19 years. I ran the school for 21 years before we were forced to close. But those were the happiest years of my life. The parents wanted their children to have the education they didn't have, and whatever I said, they did. And the children were the same. It was the happiest 21 years of my life when it came to teaching.
Oh, fantastic. I know that one of the things that John is talking about in this service is about how we should fear no evil. And obviously, working in South Africa, I wonder if you had sort of like times when there were, in a sense, evil that you had to face.
Going out, travelling out into the black area, I never ever felt threatened. People were always welcoming. They never knew my name, a lot of them, but they always knew I was the teacher. So I never ever felt threatened or frightened. But when I belonged to an organisation called Black Sash, and we used to do stands in the city centre, once when we had to do individual stands, I had a couple come right up and spit in my face, which was quite a frightening experience. But that was South Africa.
Yeah. And what's amazing about South Africa, I feel, is that when it came to the end of apartheid, so many people were concerned it would become a bloodbath. And yet, miraculously, it seemed to us here over in England that it actually wasn't. What was the difference? Because with Black Lives Matter at the moment, there's people protesting about, in a sense, the inequalities they face, and there was huge inequalities. What was the thing? How did they work that so that there wasn't the terrible bloodshed over in South Africa?
Well, we were very lucky to have a person like Nelson Mandela, who came out of years in prison saying, I'm not going to be bitter, I want to bring peace. And he really did that. And also the churches all worked together. And I think by that time South Africans were ready for change. They'd had enough of the years of being ostracized, and that they wanted to work together. And I think there was a lot of more love that we realized between the different colors. And that was, but Nelson Mandela was the person who led us. And for me, seeing him look at the planes flying over at his inauguration, I had tears, because here was this man who'd been in prison. He was now in charge here. It was a lovely moment.
Yes, very special.
Yes.
Well, thank you for talking to us today, and it's wonderful to hear your stories from South Africa, and just in a small snippet about, in a sense, how God was with you in those times.
Oh, yes. All the time.
and the forgiveness that the people had for each other.
Yes.
When that would have been very difficult, but God must have been very much part of everyone.
Oh yes, you know, I mean, Nelson Mandela was a Methodist, and he was a church person.
Yeah.
It wasn't just in name, and so were all the other leaders. Yes, they all belong to churches. They're all church attendants and believe in God and His love to all of us.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Carleen, for speaking to us today. Really appreciate it. And now we're going to have a time of prayer, and it's going to be a prayer about hope, written and read by Scott, a younger member of our church. That'll be followed by a short time of quiet, a time for reflection and our own private prayers.
A prayer for hope. In this troubled world we live in, Lord, give us hope. Hope is a place where you want to go. Hope is the weather you want to see. Hope is the wonderful presents we get. Hope has a powerful meaning to it. Hope is the thing that puts a smile on your face. Where there is hope, there is happiness. Where there is hope, there is peace. Where there is hope, there is friendship. Where there is hope, there is honesty. Where there is hope, there is a bright future. Amen.
And now we're going to hear from a couple of our members to find out how they've been getting on, Peter and Anita. That will be followed by some thoughts about deliver us from evil from my husband John.
Hello everybody, I hope you're all well. I've been asked to tell you how I've managed through this pandemic, especially at the beginning. And I felt as though I'd been into a prison and just let out for exercise and fresh air. And I don't know whether you've watched Groundhog Day, but the man there is, every day is the same, and it's just like a loop that goes on. And I think we've all felt like that. I have taken relief with the neighbours that I've met, got to know better. And having walking around the village, I've seen the posters in the windows. And with the clap on the Thursday, that's been good, and the VE Day, which celebrations, which was very, very good. I mean, looking ahead, we all hope that we can get a decent holiday this year, and so that's something to look forward to. And one of the things I have is the Gideon's Bible, and in there there's various things, and one of them covers being worried, and I think we all can be worried from time to time. So if I can just read this short passage. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Take care, all of you. God bless. Bye.
Well, I've been up to quite a few things during lockdown. I've been at work for quite a bit of it, albeit working smaller hours. As many of you do know, I work in a school, so we've had our key worker and vulnerable children in school, and just recently we've had year 10s back in, so it's beginning to look a little bit more like a school. We do now have nearly as many students as we do staff there. It's not all been school though. I've had lots of time at home as well. We've managed to do things in the garden. We've cleared out the house. We've cleared the loft and the garage and weeded and gardened and painted. Steve, my husband, has been off work a lot. So it's been lovely to have him at home regular hours. As many as you know, he does work shifts, and it's been brilliant to actually have meals as all four of us together. But as train services are increasing, he's beginning to start to work more and more. Ellie is now back at school 1 day a week as a year 10. She's one of the key groups that have gone back. So she gets 3 hours teaching a week, which has been good. She's had 2 sessions back at school and got another couple of sessions to fit in before the holidays. Thomas, on the other hand, has officially left school now. He has the leavers hoodie to prove it. And almost as soon as he left, he got a job at Airedale working in the laundry department. So as university preparation, he's now fully functional on the use of a washing machine and a dryer. But that job finished, and he's currently working in a care home looking after young vulnerable adults and adults with mental health issues, which has been a huge eye-opener for him, particularly since he's working night shifts as well. Lots of change there, but he's managed really, really well with it, and it's all good preparation for the future for him. So we've all managed to get lovely suntans and enjoying the sunshine, and just want to say a big hello to everybody that I haven't seen at church in such a long time, and hope to see you all soon. Thank you. Indignant because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, the synagogue ruler said to the people, "There are 6 days for work, so come and be healed on those days, not on the Sabbath." The Lord answered him, "You hypocrites! Doesn't each of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or donkey from the stall and lead it out to give it water? Then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has kept bound for 18 long years, be set free on the Sabbath day from what bound her?" When he said this, all his opponents were humiliated, but the people were delighted with all the wonderful things he was doing.
Hello, I'm Jonathan, one of the members at the Eldwick Church. Before I start, I just want to say a quick thank you to Christine and Anne, who put these videos together and online. It takes hours, they are getting quicker, but thank you, you're the ones doing the real work here. The subject today, deliver us from evil. Well, I feel I've got the short straw a bit here. We are at the end of our series on the Lord's Prayer, and I have to be honest, I found putting these thoughts together really difficult. It's not an easy subject to talk about, but I reflected that Jesus wasn't sentenced to death because he said lots of nice things. So let's go. Firstly, what is evil? Well, a good starting point is the reading that Anita brought us earlier, where it talks about Satan, the evil one, leading us astray. But it's not what's out there. Evil isn't just police brutality, Holocaust or wars, things we might think of. The Bible tells us it's in our hearts, it's in our everyday lives. So like the woman in the passage, she was crippled for 18 years. So I'm going to define evil as anything that binds us, that's destructive, or that stops us being the people that God wants us to be. So what do we need to be delivered from? I mean, aren't we good people generally? You know, we might argue a bit. There might be a bit of gossip. We might feel resentful occasionally, but we'd say it's justified. We might even act selfishly sometimes, you know, eating half the hobnobs because we've had a bad day. But that doesn't make us an evil person. And anyway, we're on a committee. So we're not evil, are we? But Jesus wouldn't tell us to pray, deliver us from evil, if we didn't need delivering. In the book of Job, in the Bible, chapter 31, he lists a number of things that he thinks it would be destructive for us to do. Now, some of them are things you might think would be perfectly normal or that other people might do. So I've just picked 3 of these I want to briefly describe to show us why we need God's mercy and things that are relevant for today. Okay, so the first thing Job said, or one of them, was, "If I have denied the desires of the poor or let the eyes of the widow grow weary, then let my arm fall from the shoulder." Now, while we may think, well, we don't mistreat the poor, but the economic reality is that part of our well-being comes from the fact that there's exploitation of weak and vulnerable people, of which there's many examples. African migrants dying in the oppressive heat building Qatar World Cup stadiums, Ethiopian maids dumped outside their embassy in Beirut because the keepers can no longer afford them, the Filipino crew on the Hull ferry that Monique and I spoke to recently, on low wages, only seeing their families about 3 months a year, the citrus fruit pickers from Spain that were on the BBC recently being exploited. There's hundreds and thousands. God deliver us from the evil of how we treat others or how we just accept it. A second thing Job said was, "If I have set my eyes lustfully on a woman, then may my wife grind another man's grain." Again, not an easy one, strong words. But Jesus himself says, don't commit adultery, but anyone who lustfully looks at a woman has committed adultery with her in his heart as well. Was Jesus a killjoy? No. But he recognised that if we see someone just as an object, not as a valuable person, it's destructive for us and intimidating for them. How would I know that? Well, my daughter has told me numerous times how it feels if a motorist beeps at her while she's out jogging or running. And J.K. Rowling, the author, said recently, "Never have I seen women denigrated and dehumanised to the extent they are now." God deliver us from the evil of how we see others or how we just accept it. The final thing I want to pick out of the many things Job said was, "If I have put my trust in gold, saying, 'You are my security,' then this would also be wrongdoing to be judged." Jesus was stark in his warning when he said that the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke us. It can be very subtle. You know, evil doesn't always approach with big flashing warning lights. And our family were lucky enough many years ago to go on a holiday to South Africa, where Carleen's from. And this is something we learnt for ourselves, what I'm talking about now. A local took us into a township in Cape Town, and we saw a very intimidating African woman beckoning us into her shack. She said she'd never seen white kids before, sat our children down and started grilling them with lots of questions, saying, "What's it like where you live? Can you just go into someone's house next door if you need to get some sugar, even if they're not there?" And lots of other questions along those lines. And at the end of it, she looked at us and said, "You're so poor." And we just thought, wow, you know, she's probably right. It took this woman in this place to make us realising it's so easy to value the wrong things. Lord, deliver us from the evil of putting our trust in things. It binds us. That experience, which was challenging but liberating, reminded me that we all need being delivered from that which binds us, and often more than once. So what does being delivered from evil look like? Well, it looks a bit like Zacchaeus. a wealthy tax collector in the Bible who'd swindled lots of people. When Jesus was walking along, he met him and said, "I want to eat at your house, Zacchaeus." Zacchaeus, feeling accepted, suddenly said to the Lord, "Here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house." You can almost sense Zacchaeus being set free in that moment. So for us, let's recognise our need of God and turn to him. And may the Holy Spirit give us the strength to change direction where this is needed. Jesus has overcome evil and death. Following him, we can be set free to be the people we are meant to be. Amen. Please now enjoy the words from our final song. Free at last, he has ransomed me, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. And then we will close with the Lord's Prayer. Thank you.
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last, he has ransomed me, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for
Our Father in heaven,
hallowed be your name.
Your kingdom come.
Your will be done.
On earth as in heaven.
give us today our daily bread.
Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us.
And lead us not into temptation,
But deliver us from evil.
For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours.
now and forever. Amen.